Hello and welcome to Dosanjh USA. I'm Sonny Dosanjh, CEO and co-founder. What we're going to walk through today is an insurance industry use case. We're going to go ahead and describe to you an insurance customer client prospect that's interacting with an agency for the first time using a chat copilot. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to that interface as an end user that's interacting with this platform for the first time. On the top left, you'll see the opportunity to start a new chat. And at the bottom is where they would type in their query. So the query in this case, or the prompt, is what type of insurance services do you provide? And I'm going to go ahead and show it for the demo purposes. We're going to choose a large language model, and we're going to go ahead and hit the prompt. So now it's going to go ask the large language model, which is the generative AI, and it's coming back and describing the different types of coverages that it has to offer. Okay, pretty interesting. And now the next query will be something along the lines of, what do I need to qualify to get started for a new insurance policy? So you enter that into the prompt, and then you ask by hitting enter. And now the feedback from the agency would say, we need to identify your needs. Maybe want to shop around for what kind of things you're looking for from different providers. And the providers we'll talk about in a bit. And then really to start the underwriting process and to get them a quote. This is where the value of this large language model comes into play. What I've also done is added an OpenAI large language model. So for the demonstration purposes, we can ask a couple of LLMs, large language models, the same question, and you'll notice it will come back with similar information, but described in a different way. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to describe what an insurance agent, in this case, it's an employee. It's somebody within the organization at the branch level, if you will. And now maybe they're a new hire. Maybe there's somebody that's recently come on board and they can't remember all the things that they were supposed to ask or query about for an end user. So I'm going to go ahead and log out and have a different login for this kind of a profile. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my user credentials. And this is based upon identities. This is locally done, but we can also attach it to an identity provider. But for this scenario, I'm going to showcase a local account. So I'm going to start a new chat. I'm going to come down here to the Copilot, and I'm going to select Mistral, my first LLM. And in this case, I'm going to ask, what are the steps I'm going to ask a prospect in case the phone call gets routed to me? And here we ask the LLM, and now it's going to go to look at your agency's policies, and it's going to verify that what they have is what you need to ask. So there might be some additional information, like some example criteria. You can also ask, like in this case, John Doe, we use that as an example. Is there an existing details around the insurance policy for him? And then you ask the LLM, and then it gives you the policy number, things of that nature. But what you'll notice that the contact information up here, the social security number, has been redacted. Some other things have been anonymized. That's the policy. That's the security policy being executed. And then you'll also note that within your internal organization, there's a factuality score that tells you the accuracy, as well, versus a hallucination, which means what does the outside world, what does the internet have on a person named John Doe? So you can have a lot of different false positives out there on the internet that have no clue who John Doe is. But your large language model is going to deem that as relevant or accurate. That's why it's very important to look at the factuality score with the hallucination one. So that really gives you an idea of, is this real data or is this something that the internet has that is not accurate? You can also ask it for sensitive questions like background checks, credit reports. And we have a policy in place that says you got to have more information, you got to have permissions from this person. So I can ask it from both LLMs, the OpenAI, I can ask it the same question. And then we have different policies on these. So if you do have permissions, you do have the end person's social security number, then you can get a factual score. Because we've redacted it, means we've taken it out altogether, you're not going to be able to get information on that person until they authorize it. So that gives you an example of that workflow. Next, what we're going to do is showcase how this actually works in the back end. A quick overview, if you will. We talked about the identities. Are they local, or can you use an existing identity provider that has the permissions? We inherit that. How about your data sources? You may have multiple. We just shared with you in a couple of examples that one LLM may have access to a data set and another one may not. And then the large language models themselves. We showed you Mistral and we also showed you OpenAI, how they then go out to the internet and look at data from a hallucinatory or factualization perspective when they bring it back into the platform itself. So let's go ahead and look at that from a step-by-step at a high level. We've got users. And in this case, I had Dosanjh, and you can see that the person only has certain policies that they're allowed to view on the different LLMs. We can also do this at group level. For this use case, I've got an industry for insurance, and everybody that's assigned to that group then inherits those policies. The beauty of the platform is this is all no code. It's point, click, drag, drop. You don't have to write a single line of code for this. So you can pick your identity provider, you connect to them. Then you pick your large language model. You have a chance just to enter your service connectors and your keys, and now you can select what kind of policy you want at the granular level. And as well as your corporate data, you may have it on the Google Drive, Microsoft Drive, so on and so forth. But it really gets back to just having the service connector established, and now you're on your way. The policy driven here is really the key, because once you've got identities and permissions and the data set, now you can get into a policy of what your InfoSec team, your information security teams require: redact, anonymize, block, allow. So you can get really granular at the global level, at a specific policy for, let's say, executives or IP ranges. You can get very creative to support whatever regulation comes down, whatever compliance requirement comes your way. And based upon the different type of cost and the price points that you have for different departments and different engagements, you can now make a data source specific to that large language model. You can say, you know what, I want the insurance folders for this kind of insurance to use this large language model. And within that large language model, for example, I could talk about Mistral Small versus Mistral Medium. These have different implications for the level of data they give back to you and the costs involved. We talked about policies briefly, where you can anonymize the email. I give you an example of phone number, and then the social security number. It was actually redacted all the way. Groups and users, you can get down to now the insurance industry as a category. And then what I did was for Dosanjh, I actually allowed him to have certain questions that could be prompted by different large language models, if you will. The prompt type, some organizations may have a traditional chatbot they've invested a lot of money into, and so now they may want to have those questions brought in a static. The text, the conversational, the way that we approach this is a text input from a dynamic standpoint. That's what really brings it all together. Ultimately, you have an observability dashboard. That gives you an idea of how many queries were sent from the outside. Remember, we talked about that external client. What kind of questions were they asking? How many are coming in? And now you get an idea of how you can scale your platform. That we use the word tokens based upon character sets, and that does the translation into what's the average query or the prompt? What does that look like from the bits and bytes and storage, things of that nature? Then who are your top users? For example, in the last 24 hours, Sunny Dosanjh, in this case is yours truly, you can see what I've been doing. Now you've got an audit trail, and you can kick this out to a log or an audit platform. Critical events, what's been blocked, what's been redacted, and you can see you define the time range, and now you can see what those numbers look like and what kind of folks have been redacted, blocked. And then from an activities perspective, you get a summarization to what's actually going on in the platform. So you can see how many queries, transactions, and now you can correlate this to the number of quotes that are being generated and how many are being closed won. So with that, we went through the insurance client, an insurance agent, and obviously you can extend this to the provider side and bringing in their data sets, or connecting to the data sets and only bringing in what we call vectorized data. When you're retrieving automated generated content, and only bringing that portion of the data in that you want either customers asking of what they want to have addressed, or your internal employees or your specialized employees. The key thing here is this is autonomous. Once you set it in place, it's automatic. It's orchestrated and automated to run by itself as a GenAI workflow in the background. It's no code. It's drag and drop, click and point, and off you go. And you also have the opportunity to protect your data. It's really important. We offer the opportunity to bring in post-quantum cryptography keys, or bring your own keys from however you generate them. We call it BYOK. And you can also bring your own LLM. So if you have that in place, we give you that flexibility. The power is within the platform. And really the key thing is getting the right information to the person that needs it, whether they're a client, an internal agent, or working with partners. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. Number one thing I would recommend, this does not work unless you do an assessment. I would encourage you to reach out to us at info@DosanjhUSA.com or call us 408-430-DUSA. Thank you.